Hi, welcome to the small shed. This Saturday we're making a template to make a template. See you in a minute. Now, in the true spirit of doing things 2 or 3 times when you only need to do it once, my wife has asked me to make some templates, or a template for a quilting pattern, and it's basically a quadrant of a circle in clear perspex. So let's have a look on the bench and see what we've got to do. Right, simple job today, which I shall, as usual, overcomplicate. This is a template for my wife for her quilting, and usually with these things you get a square or a piece of material of a shape, and there is an allowance of about 1/4 of an inch because quilters use imperial by and large. 1/4 of an inch around the edge, so that when you fold it you can sew down that line and get a join and still maintain the original size that you want from the pattern. And these are basically just 1/4 of a circle. Now, I'm quite sure that if I got a piece of acrylic, which I've already ordered up, I've ordered 3mm, which is probably about right. I'm sure if I actually mark that quadrant out on that there, bandsawed it slightly oversize and sanded it back on the belt sander, she would be perfectly happy. But I do want to do it properly, and therefore start with the complication. I will be using the router jig to actually get that dead on quadrant of a circle. And then that causes the second bit of complication, for which I shall again overcomplicate it, because if I do that, what you'll end up with is a small 1/4 of a circle hole there, because I need a hole drilled for the jig to actually work in to get the radius for the router. So what I think I'm going to do is do it twice effectively. I'm going to make that pattern with a small notch in the end of it out of thin ply or something, or even plastic, using the router jig with the circle arrangement fixed up on it. And then I'll double stick that with the notch out of it onto a corner of this, and then I'll do again with a bearing on the router. I can then get the template that I want without the corner cut out and with a nice 1/4 circle. So we'll start off doing it with as I say, I'll see what I can find, plywood or plastic or something, to give me that first template. So let's dig out. The first job will be to find out what I've done with the router jig, because it's somewhere in here, and it's been a while since I've used it. So we'll dig that out and we'll make a start. Right, that's the first trial. I've got it's this foamed plastic, like Foamex. It does cut nicely and machine nicely, and that is, yeah, as near as damn it 4 1/4 inches. So that is the right size. Just carry on now, finish this off, and do the same thing 2 or 3 times to get the depth down till we're cutting into the timber underneath. And that should give us the base template we can use then for the acrylic one. Okay, that's stage one complete. That has got me essentially the template that I need. Just going to clean that up with a bit of paper, sandpaper or cloth. That's got me the right shape. Okay, that's got the revised template to the right size. That is now spot on 4 1/4 from centre to edge. I've marked a line from that centre line just roughly with a scalpel across the material. It doesn't really matter, it's not, it just needs something to be a guide, and then I can lay the acrylic onto it, centre it over that hole there, and that will mean that that is the area that the revised template will go to. And what I'm going to do is to rough out the material with the bandsaw just to within probably 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and then we'll tidy it up later on the router table. That is not very good as a marker. We'll try it with a marker pen. We've got the film on this, so it doesn't really matter. That just gives me something to work to with the bandsaw and makes it slightly more handleable once I've got it down to size. So I'm just going to trim that down on the bandsaw. So we'll just clean up the template with a bit of isopropyl alcohol so we can get the double-sided tape to stick, and we'll clean up the face we're going to put down on there. Find ourselves some tape. I'd normally use masking tape and super glue, but in this instance it doesn't matter if it sticks to the template because I'm not going to be using it again, and if it sticks to this it also doesn't matter because it's a peel off piece of protection. So I'm quite happy to use double-sided. It's normally a bit more difficult to get rid of, that's all, but in this instance say it's alright. Belt and braces, plenty on. I'll keep it off the edge because that'll just repeat in the pattern in the finished job. So burnish that down. And then we'll stick it to the template, stick it to the finished job. Now the only thing I'm likely to have a problem with is holding this. It's always a bit iffy if you've got something like this that's likely to be grabbed and whipped out of your hand. So I'm going to pop that on there in the right place, stick it down, and then possibly, if I can, find something like that, a small block of wood that I can also stick down to it, that'll give me a chance to use it on the router table safely, keep my hand well away from the router. And I think for that I may well use super glue. Not sure how well it might not stick very well to that. Try it with this and see what happens. Then we can just set the router table up with a bearing, bottom bearing flush trim bit. And we can now go in, as I say, keep our hand well clear of that. So let's go over to the router table. I've adjusted the bit so that it runs on the template underneath on this bearing down here, but the actual cutter will just hit the perspex itself, and we go in from that direction and always cut like that, otherwise it can grab it. If you go around this way, it'll just grab it and spin it out your hand. So I think that's about right. I might just bring it up a fraction. It is really nice to have that adjustability from the top. Okay, we'll try that. We'll give this a go and see what happens. Right, there we go, that's got that done. I'm going to split the two apart, but I'm not going to take the covering off if I can help it, because I just want to run that edge across my polishing wheel in the garage, and then we can get a sort of a smooth glass-like finish on the edge. At the moment it's slightly matte. It's not a big deal, but it's, again, it's just a matter of trying to make it as nice as I can. Got to be careful it doesn't make it too hot, so you only need a light pass, but I'm just going to run it through that wheel with a bit of jeweler's rouge. There we have it. Just wipe the remaining bits of polish off, and then we can take the covering material away and leave us a nice finish. That's got us a nice clean edge ready for my wife to use. So we can take that in to her. That is just about right in terms of size. 4¼ inches. On the money. Well, that went well, so well in fact that my wife read the pattern and found that she actually needed both, but I've just done the second one with slightly smaller, and it took, because I've got the system going now and all the stuff was set up, it took less than half an hour to make the second one. So we've made two templates out of our bit of perspex, one slightly larger than the other, so she can go and see how she gets on with it. So hopefully a few brownie points there in the bag. Hope the video was of interest. Look forward to seeing you next time. We'll be doing something different. See you then. Bye.